Slender Man. What can I say about the tall white guy that hasn't been said a million times already? Once upon a 2009, the faceless supernatural being made his first appearance on a Something Awful post, with images of the creepy character in the background of seemingly normal images made for a Photoshop contest. This sparked intrigue within the internet, as they would craft stories and theories based on the simple character. Mark Hadley at Parsec Productions caught note of this and created the free-to-play game Slender the 8 Pages, one of the most notorious horror games ever. And with the rising platform that was YouTube, 2012 truly was no better time to release this game. Not to mention that everyone was obsessed with sharing horror content on the internet with their friends, setting them up by saying, hey, go watch this video, and then having some cheap-ass jump scare somewhere in it. These two elements are what made Slender Man a big thing, and popularized a genre known as creepypastas, where they would take a creepy thing on the internet and it would be pasted because, oh, some bad thing will happen if you don't do it or some shit like that. I don't know. Suffice to say, Slender Man was a hit, and so nearly 10 years later, here I am to rediscover the magic of the original. All I can say is I can see why Freddy Fazbear took over as that king. This game is alright. Looking at it from a more cultural standpoint, it did set a standard for indie horror at the time. And considering it was made by one person, it isn't half bad. But looking at it with a more critical eye, not so much. Basically, the whole premise is that you're in a forest and you need to collect 8 MacGuffins, those being pages. We're collecting pages because, I don't know. In the menu, there's actually an option to check out some Slender Man mythos. I didn't check out anything, but all I know is that Slender is some sort of higher being that stalks his prey. There's no reason as to why, which makes him slightly scarier because of the unknown aspect. You know, you can't really rationalize with the monster. He will either abduct you, traumatize you for life, or make you one of his very own proxies, which are his own minions or something. You need to collect 8 pages in order to, well, again, I don't know. Even then, when you do collect all 8 pages, there's no special ending or whatever. You just die like normal. So there's no motivation going into it story-wise. And how about gameplay-wise? Yeah, no thank you. This is a forest that is so easy to get lost into. You have no idea where you're going, which I guess could be scary. Speaking of scary, let's talk about what isn't scary, that being Slender Man himself. He's just a PNG of a tall man who teleports around hoping to give you a little spook or something. When he does jump scare you with visual glitches or piano slams, it does get you, but that's just it. A jump scare. The sound design is pretty neat though, building up tension with every page you collect. But overall, this game gave me no intrigue as to who Slender is. It felt like a slow-paced crawl of a game that, while building up a tiny bit of tension, ultimately bored me. You could replace Slender Man with a PNG of a golden retriever puppy, and nothing would change. Although I will give credit to the bathroom in this game, it was a scary moment. You knew you could be cornered at any moment. But nothing really sticks with me for this game except for a bit of nostalgia. But it does for other people, which I'm glad for them, as long as they don't do anything fucking stupid. So, Slender the 8 Pages was a good game for most people. Not me. But it wasn't until later on when Blue Isle Studios would contact Parsec Productions to develop a fully realized version of this primitive game. Enter Slender the Arrival in 2013, a game that took the original and gave it an actual budget. With more story, puzzles, and scares to be had, people played this game. People played this game on YouTube, and coming through that was a mixed to positive reception. But I've been talking way too much. Let's finally get into Slender the Arrival. Booting up the game for the first time comes with a couple of company names, and an epilepsy warning, watch out if you have seizures, followed by a message telling us to go into the game with an open mind and make use of our own personal experience to truly embrace the scariness of what this game has to offer. Well, they pretty much nailed my walking patterns, judging by the shadow of the character. This game's already terrifying me! Starting the actual game, we have a cutscene, and it's pretty interesting because it represents how Slender's bedeviling gaze will take you to fall. Oh. Okay, okay. So this opener over here is actually beautiful, running down the path, seeing the leaves falling off the autumn trees and the sunlight beaming towards you. It's really pretty and I enjoy it a lot. Anyway, we should probably talk about the story a little bit. It revolves around your friend, Kate, who recently lost her mother and is in the process of selling her house, and invites you, Lauren, to come on over and visit. Anyway, you go to Kate's house and discover that shit's gone south. There's some scary drawings on the walls of trees and a tall figure. Going around the house, picking up a flashlight and a few paper papers cluing us into the lore. You learn about another character known as CR, an acronym for Carl Ross, who is investigating the case of Charles Matheson Jr.'s recent disappearance. He shares similar visions of Slenderman with Kate, and they discuss it a lot, as you can see from some of these emails, even showing romantic feelings at some point. All that aside, you eventually make it to Kate's room, where shit is so south at this point it's gone north. Drawings of Slenderman everywhere about how she can't escape or whatever. Anyway, we leave through the gate and turn these generators on to light up a path that Slender watches from a distance. Well, that's about it. We see yet another house, this one being burnt down, and inside is a malnourished child just standing there. Spoiler alert, this is Charlie as a proxy. Anyway, he jump scares you, and that's about it. We go out and we find this book and... well, that's about it. Exploring a little bit more will take you near this park where, hey look, back to the MacGuffins, this time in HD. There's not really much to say about this that I haven't already said earlier, except Slenderman is a little bitch in this one. I keep trying to go in the middle of these crates and tanks and shit, but there he is. Every single time I want to go in, he just shows up. And again, Slenderman isn't scary in the slightest. This one's even less scary than the original 8 pages, and I still can't figure out why we're collecting these stupid pages. Slender just stands there, arms to the side, a model with no animation. This is not scary. He's just some dumbass white tall mannequin who is uncanny for 2 seconds until realizing it's all stupid. But I guess it's a good reintroduction to the gameplay, taking the old formula and refamiliarizing the player with this simple concept. Anyway, I collected 6 pages, but that wasn't enough to keep Slenderman away. I didn't die or anything, it just took me to an interactive transition screen that explained basically nothing. And before you know it, Lauren wakes up in some random field. Why is she in this field? I don't know. Why didn't Slenderman just take her life or something? I don't know. Why are we still here playing this game when there's no good sense of motivation to keep the player going whatsoever? I don't know. Eventually, we find this abandoned mining facility, and Lauren decides it's a good idea to go in there, despite being stalked by the Slenderman. Now we have to go around turning on generators to power up this forklift. So, back to the MacGuffins, but this one's better, I promise. Ironically enough, Slenderman is barely present in this level, but to accommodate for that, we have this masked person who chases you around and sounds like the fucking hat from Mario Party 8. Okay, maybe this person doesn't, but it was a funny thought that I had at one point. Later on, it's revealed that this person turns out to be Kate, who has been corrupted by Slender and is now one of his proxies. The only way to avoid her is by flashing your light in her face, which causes her to slow down. If she catches up to you, she'll jump on you and, okay, stranger danger. Then she runs off. Great. I believe she can catch you around 3 times before killing you, but I only got caught twice. The apprehension before encountering Kate was actually kind of frightening and really got my heart pounding. But when I eventually saw her for the first time and flashed my light, I realized it was kind of stupid. The magic of the level just sort of died down for me, but hey, at least this MacGuffin quest wasn't as bad, but then again, that's not really saying much. So we power on the 6 generators and go on the forklift, and eventually Lauren finds herself on this hill where we come across a teddy bear. Touching the teddy bear will give us a flashback of Charlie's, back to when he was actually a human. He's on the beach side and his mom and dad call him for lunch. So instead of climbing up the rocks and going to eat whatever mom's got prepared, he decides to be a little shithead and takes a trip in the forest. Eventually, throughout treading the forest, Slenderman whips out his tentacles and abducts the child. One compliment that I do have to give to this segment is how beautiful the forest looks, with the lighting mixed with the fog is just such a treat to the eye. Wouldn't it be cool if we got some actual levels with lighting like this? I mean, every level in this game looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but we get to moments like these that are truly nice to look at. This game shows off so much potential, but just misses the mark on so many things. Anyway, we get taken back to the hill, and Lauren eventually finds some shed with a CRT in it. Oh man, we gonna play some Smash Melee or something? Oh wait, Nintendo wouldn't allow that. Fuck you, Nintendo. And here we have the choice of 2 VHS tapes, one of them being from Kate and another one being from CR. Kate's tape takes us to her house, where she suspects she's being stalked by Slenderman, so she closes all of the windows and doors from keeping him from coming in. Why are all your windows open when it's raining? More importantly, why the f did you leave the front door open wide so anybody could just barge right in? Like, you know about Slenderman, you've wrote about Slenderman, you suspect he's nearby your house, and you leave the door wide open. Seriously, you deserve to be caught by Slenderman if you're gonna pull a stunt like this, you moron. Eventually, Kate realizes that her efforts are futile, as he is in the house with you, and instead of running out of the house, you go back into your room to hide, and he catches up with you, so you have to jump out of the window. Kate, what did you expect? I'm done. CR's tape will take you to the house of the Matheson's farmstead, as he is doing an investigation on the disappearance of Charlie. And hey, we're actually making use of that lighting in a moment that has actual gameplay in it. Way to go! We find a generator that opens the door for a barn, but it has no fuel in it. So we make our way through a cornfield, and eventually we find a cellar which has fuel in it somewhere. This part of the game is actually quite scary, as you discover Charlie is in with you. However, to my knowledge, he can't actually hurt you at all. The lights flickering do make the situation more scary though. So we grab the fuel and run out of there. Powering on the barn, we can finally make it to the other side to get this key, and we have to go back in the cornfield in order to make it to a chapel. Running in the cornfield this time is more challenging, as Charlie is now with you, chasing you. It's easy to outrun him though. So eventually we make it to the church and pick up this toy, but Charlie doesn't like that, so he bashes down the door. Also, hi, Slender. Unscary as usual. However, running out the church and shutting the door behind you where you can see Charlie charging towards you is honestly frightening, and was definitely the most scary thing in this game. You eventually make it to the house and find some more sketches, but then uh-oh, Charles is going to get ya. So you flee and drop your camera. This is easily the best part of the game. By far. Charlie is a scary bastard, I don't care what anyone says, and running from him produces so much anxiety. Eventually, Lauren decides she has enough, so she runs out to some radio tower, which I guess was the objective of the whole game. Wait, why are we going to a radio tower now? And we do it in the middle of a forest fire. Yeah, that's just completely logical. What are we doing? All of this while Slenderman attempts, huge quotation marks around attempts, to stop you, but to no avail. We make it to the radio tower, and eventually we come across a charred body, who turns out to be CR. And eventually we turn on the camcorder that's next to his body, and we can hear a bunch of wacky screams. Then some lights go out and Charlie gets you. Eventually we wake up in a basement with the kid, but after picking up 2 pieces of paper, he decides to check out. Okay. Walking out of the basement, we can hear the voice of Kate crying. You make it to her, and then she kills you and drags your body away. The end. Slender the Arrival was a frustratingly mediocre, annoying experience that made no sense at all. It's just a bunch of wasted potential, like it is so close to being a good game, but it just doesn't deliver. And that sucks. Like, there's so much potential, man! And it just leaves me with more questions than answers. Lauren has no reason or motivation to continue after going to her friend's house. Kate is stupid as hell who deserved to be proxified. Things just happen for no reason, and it isn't even scary. It's tense, but it's not scary. And no takeaway is given. And what's more, it could have done so much for Slenderman as a character, making him more interesting. But he just stands there, not even menacingly, not even making eye contact, like he's just looking at whatever, he's just blanking out, I guess. He is a boring, nonsense character who isn't even intriguing. The only reason anybody finds any interest is due to nostalgia. But the thing is that he doesn't need to be. I can see this guy being potentially scary if enough effort was put into him. In the original lore, he would actually take his victims and impale them onto trees and remove their organs. I get that's extreme as fuck, but at least that's interesting. He's just this close to being anything worth noting rather than an immersion-breaking monster, but alas. Slender the Arrival might be fun if you're watching a YouTube Let's Play, but that's about it. Took me under an hour to beat this game. $10 is just asking too much for that kind of experience, especially if you're one of the first people that played it. Everything color-coded red in this series of events that represents the game wasn't initially there at launch, but was added nearly 6 months later. But now that it's in the game, I guess it makes the overall package better, but it seriously f***s over the people who wanted to play this game day one. Overall, this is a game that I will probably never play again. That's sad. Nothing but potential that was just squandered. Oh hey, I didn't mention the post-game yet. Yeah, if you go into the level select screen, you'll find a mission called Genesis, which is a recreation of the original map from the original game. But it's just like that one. I got bored trying to collect the damn pages and just let Slenderman take me. And there's also the secret level called Glitch. Yeah, this totally makes sense. Oh look, it's Slenderman. Is that a missing child's poster? I take it all back. This game is terrifying. Ah!
It's Slender Man! Kill yourself!